Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the T.H.O. Movie Reviews podcast, the show where we bring you passionate, honest, and insightful film criticism. I'm your host, Bennett, Campbell, Ferguson. I'm here at the Oasis Cafe with Mo, Shaunette, and Mo, we just saw Solo. Mo, do you feel like you're flying high on the Millennium Falcon, or do you feel like you're at the bottom of the great pit of Carcoon?
Is that a thing in this Carcoon?
Remember Return of the Jedi, the Sarlacc pit.
I just know it as the Sarlacc pit. It had a name?
Yeah, remember C-3PO says, "You will be cast into the pit of Carcoon."
No, obviously I don't. I'm feeling all right. Everything has a name. The guy with the ice cream maker has a name. That still cracks me up.
The guy in Cloud City, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember his name. What's his name?
I'll Google it again. It's
yes.
probably still in my search history. God, we got off topic quickly, man.
Well, we're still within the Star Wars universe. While you're doing that, you didn't chime in when you find out about the ice cream guy. I'll just say this is the second time I saw the movie, and I thought it was okay. My expectations, as I'm sure you know, were pretty low.
Wilro Hood is his name.
It's such a Star Wars name. It's like kind of like familiar yet with
almost a real person's name.
Almost a real person's name.
That was the thing that struck me as weird about this movie is that we got Han Solo and Chewbacca and
Tobias
Beckett, which that's not likely a name an actual person would have.
No,
but it sounds
on the other hand, it's like
a human name.
It's not like Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah,
I mean,
like even Luke Skywalker, that was a little iffy.
Yeah, well, it was even while they were filming it was Star Killer.
Yeah,
and they changed it right before they had to shoot the I'm Luke Skywalker and the rest of you, but that's a whole other thing. Not only because of my general disappointment with a lot of the recent Star Wars films, even though I enjoyed aspects of all of them except Rogue One.
I like the idea of Rogue One.
Yeah, the concept was fine. My expectations for this were low because the production troubles. It's never a good sign when you have to fire two directors and then you got another director who's trying to match what they did but salvage the whole thing. But it's a modestly charming movie, it moves along quickly, the action's pretty cool, it succeeds, I think, on the terms it sets for itself, but admittedly those terms are pretty unambitious.
It's pretty modest, yeah. I felt the same way. It's fun, and I guess seeing it, I was never completely on board with the idea of a Han Solo movie.
Nor was I. I didn't see the point.
I think, what you've said, partially, a lot of the Star Wars characters are very much drawn very simply as characters.
Oh, they're archetypes. They're
archetypes, and they're infused with a lot of personality by their actors. Harrison Ford was a born movie star.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Harrison Ford was Han Solo. Han Solo wasn't just a character on a page, it was his mannerisms, his vibe.
Yeah, so more than that, it's like what do we get out of a Han Solo prequel movie? Say what you will about the original prequel trilogy, Darth Vader's backstory is worth learning about.
Yes, absolutely.
He became a super evil space cyborg wizard. How do you get there?
Yeah.
This it was fine. It's fun. It's a really great cast. They play off each other really well. It doesn't feel overly embedded to doing all the Han Solo stuff we did. We did do the Kessel Run. We did do he shoots first.
Yeah.
But they did harp on it, which I appreciate because honestly, the whole Han shot first thing it's starting to sicken me. Because it's just emblematic of the entitlement of fan bases in general.
Well, I'm getting off topic, but I will defend it. The debate because I until recently I felt like you because I actually grew up on the special editions, so I was like, what's the big deal? But then I read Chris Taylor's book, How Star Wars Conquered the Universe, and he points out, how does Greedo miss shooting at point blank range? And I was like, oh my god, for years I've been telling myself oh, this is fine, but not yeah, when you put it like that, that's that's a what were you thinking, George kind of thing. I mean, I see what you mean, like you know, with the kind of like over obsessing over things. But
I do agree that's probably the better way to tell the story is Han shoots first, but like losing your shit over it is not productive. But getting back to the actual movie, it was fun. There's some good effects. There's some fun characters. I really like that Donald Glover is kind of he's one of Disney's go-to guys now.
Yeah, with the Lion King coming up,
he's going to be in Lion King. He might be in Black Panther 2, but we don't know yet.
Really? Is that the rumor?
The rumor is that he might be the villain in it, but he was already in Spider-Man. So we don't know what's going to happen. But it was fun. I liked it. It's not particularly ambitious beyond just the scope of its budget and trying to be like a big spectacle. But yeah.
All right. So what I wanted to ask you,
yes,
is I have a thought that kind of the thing that sort of handicaps the movie is also the thing that makes it succeed, which is that it's a surprisingly simple story. Like basically the whole plot is get the money and get the girl, and you start out with just this kind of like most basic of setups where kid's alone on a grungy planet looking to the stars, he's trying to break out with his girlfriend, and I mean on the one hand that's a little bit problematic because it's something we've seen not just in other science fiction films, but in almost every genre really. So there's a little bit like been there, done that. At the same time, it's almost like kind of refreshing.
Sausage and mushroom pizza?
Because there's not like these sort of apocalyptic stakes. There's not a Death Star to destroy. Like it's very. I don't think grounded is the right word, but you know what I mean.
I get what you mean. It's straightforward. It's. I think I like that idea just because it feels it's appropriate for Han. It's appropriate for his character because he's not, again, like they make a point of it. He's not part of the rebellion. He's not trying to save the galaxy. He's just trying to get his and survive and not. If it can be helped, like help other people out.
Yeah.
But I think that works. And also just, we've had like a lot of Star Wars movies that are just big and epic.
Yes.
And like even Rogue One felt like that was supposed to be, the break between the main trilogy, and it's like.
And yet it's still Rebels versus Empire. It's still a massive,
It still ends with a planet blowing up.
Yeah. They blow up two planets.
So I would say that this is. If we're gonna pursue this experiment of telling different kinds of stories in the Star Wars universe, then you have to play with the stakes a bit, and I think that works here.
Which is why I know you're so excited for the Boba Fett movie.
Oh, Boba Fett, you schmuck!
Sorry, I've been waiting to do that joke.
They announced a director for it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that director. I'm just opposed to the idea of a Boba Fett movie because it's so much fun to make fun of Boba Fett because he's.
Oh no! Feel the love, Mo.
I feel the love of trashing Boba Fett.
I feel the love of the gleaming off of that man's green armor, man. It's like sunlight. But as far as Solo goes,
yes,
a Boba Fett free Star Wars movie, as I'm sure you will appreciate.
As almost all the best Star Wars movies are. Empire
Strikes Back.
It's not great because Boba Fett's there. He doesn't really do a whole lot.
That is fair. So going to the flip side.
Yes.
Of while certainly this is an entertaining movie, it's even grading on the most generous of curves, it's got a lot of problems.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And but I feel like aside from the obvious problems, there's some inconsistencies of tone. Apparently Lord and Miller didn't do a very good job directing Emilia Clarke, she says, and you can kind of see that in the sort of the way that character develops sort of awkwardly. Yeah. I think like the things I'm interested in is like almost like the very concept of a Han Solo movie I think is flawed, because it's kind of like with like Wolverine. Like most of the Wolverine movies I was not that into because I felt like Wolverine was mostly interesting in the context of the X-Men as this kind of animal, roguish force who, intrudes into sort of a stable team.
I get that, yeah.
And I think like that was the context Han was interesting in too because, you got the Rebel Alliance, they're fighting the good fight, they're very righteous, they're very serious, and then this roguish guy comes in, sweeps Princess Leia off his feet, kind of talks cynically about the Force, like when you don't have that kind of that sense of order for him to bounce off of, it makes for a less interesting movie.
It makes for a different. I think it highlights just different aspects of the character because here they make it plain like what sets Han Solo apart from the other criminals is that he has a certain level of ambition that a lot of them don't, but he also has genuine heart. He's like
absolutely.
They straight up just say you're one of the good guys, which is. Not great writing, but
it's a horrible line. But the concept is
we'll roll with
true.
it.
Yeah.
We'll roll. It's better than, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Well, then you are lost.
But and there's something to be said about that. But
yeah,
I did not feel the need for this movie. Still, like I had fun. I liked it. I'm glad it exists. But I've said this before. But it's like. A heist movie in the Star Wars universe. Yes, that's a hell of a movie. Do that. Make that thing. Putting Han Solo in it feels a way just to make it more marketable and a way to just to tether it to the central trilogy, which feels unnecessary because this is literally a universe of possibilities. We don't need to go back to the same handful of people. We don't. It doesn't have to be all Skywalker drama or Han Solo or anyone. That's part of the reason why I'm looking forward to Rian Johnson's trilogy because we may not have spin-off characters. It'll just be its own thing.
Yeah, I hope so. I wish they had done that from the beginning with these new films. I mean, it's like because I don't want to get into the whole thing, but like I was excited to see Han and Luke and Leia again until I saw what they did with them. And I'm not just talking about the Last Jedi, which has become such a punching bag, but I mean the Force Awakens, like when Han and Leia having marriage problems and Han goes back to smuggling, it's like just turn back the clocks to trauma. But that's a tangent.
That's another thing.
I mean there is an issue I think that is kind of interesting, and that A.O. Scott in the New York Times said something like that. We talked about the movie answering these questions. How did Han get his blaster? How did Han get his name? What was the winning hand that won the Millennium Falcon? Like he said, and I thought this was kind of a brilliant insult. Like this movie's kind of like a filmed Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
I kind of felt that.
Someone described it as I think it was Movie Bob described it as the first scene from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade made into a movie. Where it's just you see these little bits of accoutrements that become like part of the mythos.
Yeah,
and it's just was anyone curious about that? About what the Kessel Run is?
No.
Or where you guys? But this leads back to the problem. Like Han is a fine character, but there's not enough there to make a really compelling movie. Because you get to the end of his character arc here, and it's like, okay, next time we see him is going to be in New Hope, where he's just kind of this scummy, would-be criminal mastermind who
at least shoots second.
Who's just a smuggler, and then it turns out he's a good guy. Okay, do we need to get there? Do we need to take this particular journey?
No.
So
absolutely not. I'm with you.
Again, I had fun.
Yeah. No, I did
I think they did the best they could. It wasn't a great idea, but they did something at least entertaining with it. I doubt it's going to change anyone's life. It's inambitious. It's just we're here to have fun with these characters and with this mythos. Here's the thing I do love about the movie. There seems to be this in the Star Wars fandom. There seems to be this desire to have a character who is kind of a stone cold badass. Because we don't have a lot of those. Like Han is the closest we have, but Han gets by on luck more than anything.
Yeah,
and there's definitely some skill and some charm and wit, but mostly he's going from place to place, like making it up as he goes along.
You know that scene in A New Hope, you know, where he's talking to the Imperial officer and he says, boring conversation anyway, and shoots the console. I mean that moment is Han, and you see that spirit in this movie.
And he's got that bluster about him, but a lot of the time he doesn't know what he's doing. And I think they kept that consistent here. He's making it up as he goes along. He's surrounding himself with the right people, and he's got enough skill and wit to survive. But he's not the guy who's just gonna barge into Imperial headquarters and kill everyone without blinking.
No. And when he tries to, you know, barge, you know, that one scene in A New Hope, he gets confronted by like an entire garrison of stormtroopers. It's like, it's no wonder he doesn't barge, because he sucks at it.
Yeah.
But
So I like that they kept that consistent. He's a funny character.
He is a funny character.
You can tell serious stories with him, but he's not a badass. He's just kind of a cool, sharp guy.
Well, and the whole thing where he pretends the rock is a thermal detonator. You know, I mean, for me, like, I really appreciate the moment, because that is just so Han. Like doing something really stupid, but doing it with a lot of gusto, with a lot of charm.
And somehow it works.
Yeah, and somehow it works. Like, yeah, it actually does work. I mean,
and like the getaway where the car gets stuck.
Yeah.
It's like, this is gonna work. It doesn't work. It's like, okay, keep going.
Yeah. Just right on the head. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I think this issue is sort of like hovering behind a lot of what we're talking about, but you know. For years, you know, no one had a kind word to say about the prequels. And to a certain extent, that continues to this day. But if you might have noticed, after The Force Awakens, the people started talking a little bit, you know, less venomously about episodes 1 through 3. And I think it wasn't that people liked them. It wasn't that people suddenly changed their mind. It was that, you know, kind of seeing, you know, a movie like The Force Awakens that was sort of like Star Wars Mad Libs and just kind of plugging this stuff into a formula, there was an appreciation for George Lucas, like
trying something different.
Exactly, yeah, and failing, yes. Although, I mean, I think, you know, I think Revenge of the Sith is all right ultimately, but you know, it's that kind of thing between, you know, playing it safe and, you know, maybe you're more successful, and being ambitious and maybe a bit more exciting, but you fall flat in your face. And like this, I mean, Solo to me is like the flip side of the prequels. You know, it does not try that hard at all. There's no visual breakthroughs. There's no crazy new special effects techniques that really fill you with wonderment or awe. But it kind of hits these predictable notes and hits them very satisfyingly. And so I wanted to hear from you, like, in terms of Star Wars, like, what do you think is better, you know, an ambitious failure or a really, really modest success? Or are they even really kind of the same thing at the end of the day?
Well, if we're going to go through this experiment of making different kinds of Star Wars movies, I think you gotta have both. Like, I feel like if Solo was an ambitious failure, people would be tearing it apart. Like,
but people are tearing it apart already. It's kind of a mediocre failure. You know.
Yeah, but
I mean, not an outright failure, but, you know, I mean,
or a mediocre success. It's
yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm one of the guys who really loved The Last Jedi, so I'm interested in seeing an ambitious success.
Sure, yeah.
The Force Awakens, I give a lot of slack to The Force Awakens because it was coming off the prequels, and it was coming in this era where the Star Wars brand had been just battered and misused, and a lot of people had this sour taste in their mouth from it. So it's like, okay, let's just do a basic, straightforward Star Wars movie and see if it can still work. See if we can, like, apply, you know, the old way of doing things with the original trilogy, with, you know, a modern slick, modern polish, and for me it worked. And I would like to see them do more interesting things going forward with these spin-off movies, which is why I don't think they should make a Boba Fett movie. So they've announced that they may be working on a Lando Calrissian movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if there's enough there, but I would like to see more of Don Glover. So sure, I'll go to that.
Well, maybe the cool thing would be like if there's a way for him to be in like Rian Johnson's trilogy as a major character. I mean.
Well, when does Rian Johnson's trilogy take place? Is the question.
I mean, that's we have no idea. Yeah, but I mean. Because it's like maybe this whole thing of like you structure, a whole Star Wars movie around one character, like that may be like a model that's not as exciting to people.
The ensembles have been more interesting. I will say that
because it was the trio that drove the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And the wonderful trio of Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan in the prequels. That's not even funny, is it?
Was Padme really like? Did she have her own story in the prequels?
Well,
because it really felt like it was just.
Well, she pretended to be a handmaiden. She got her shirt torn, and then she died in childbirth.
Yeah.
I suppose it depends on how you define a story.
It's, it's crazy futuristic technology, but they don't have a sonogram.
Oh man, a long time ago in a galaxy far away, they were so much more advanced than us, except for
basic medical functions.
Yeah. But I want to speak to your point about like kind of the something like Solo versus The Last Jedi, and I'll be honest, like as I don't like The Last Jedi. It's nothing personal against The Last Jedi. I didn't like The Force Awakens or Rogue One either. I don't like most of these new Star Wars movies. I didn't, unlike some people I could name, I didn't jump on the haterade bandwagon just when The Last Jedi came out. I've been pure from the start. Getting back to the point, I'll admit, I probably enjoyed Solo more than The Last Jedi. But then on the other hand, The Last Jedi, at least there was kind of an electric feeling when it came out because, love it or hate it, everyone was talking about it. And Solo, people will talk about it, for years to come because it's Star Wars, but the conversation's not going to be the same. It's going to be a little wearier. It's going to be a bit more rote because there's not that much
to talk about. Really. It's all flash and very little substance, I would say.
Yeah. And I wrote a review of this, and I feel like, I know that, it's easy to bash George Lucas, and, for good reason, cough, Jar Jar Binks, cough. But then on the other hand, there's, as I said in my review, there's a difference between building Millennium Falcon with your own hands and just taking it out for a joyride. And that's kind of I feel like what this movie is doing. And a joyride can be fun, but at the end of the day, you kind of want more. You kind of feel like there's
it's less meaningful.
Yeah.
Even Rogue One, they tried to grab some poignancy at the end there.
Absolutely.
I don't think it worked very well, but they tried.
Yeah. It's funny. Even though I don't like that movie, at least on paper, I appreciate the concept. Oh, that's bold. A Star Wars movie they kill everybody at the end. I'll admit that was audacious. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah. I guess we're this is going to be one of those ones where we just keep circling back to the same point and get over and over again. It's a joyride. That's really all there is to it. You're here to have fun. It's not gonna redefine the Star Wars mythos. It's not gonna create anything really groundbreaking or new. It's just we're here for a good time. I had a good time. I'm not angry at it for that.
Sure.
I would like to see more interesting stuff from the Star Wars movies. So we'll see what happens with Episode 9. We'll see what happens with all the other spin-offs they're making. Yeah.
And also too, one thing, despite my misgivings about that, I do appreciate about the movie is compared to a lot of the blockbusters that come out these days, I'm definitely not a big fan of the whole universe building thing, because I feel like it's getting to the point where it's almost like you have to watch certain movies with the Wikipedia page, out of the corner of your eye, and it's or something like Deadpool 2, which is kind of pretending to be like very edgy, but if you like look at the heart of it, it's extraordinarily conventional.
Yeah.
And there's something like kind of refreshing about a conventional movie that, a Darth Maul cameo aside, isn't setting up a ton of spin-offs. It's just kind of telling a story and isn't really pretending to be other than what it is, which is, a movie about a guy who wants to go fast in a spaceship. I mean,
Okay. Yeah. It's Benny the Spaceman, the movie.
yeah, sure. Benny the Spaceman.
Do you remember him from the Lego movie?
No.
1980 something Spaceman.
Okay, maybe that needs to be a spin-off. Maybe.
We already got a Lego movie spin-off.
Yeah, that's true.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah, I like the Lego Batman.
Yeah.
It was fine. Yeah.
So that's the other thing that like kind of is starting to get at me about the latter-day Star Wars movies, is that it feels very profound. They feel like they're trying more than anything to be for the hardcore fans. Like The Last Jedi is kind of the exception, but it's still very much a love letter to Star Wars itself, and it's still
even the things that are taking departures, like having Rey be nobody, they're still sort of reacting against things in the original trilogy, which it's still kind of like taking from the playbook, because if you're reacting against it, you're still kind of like vibing off of it as opposed to doing your own thing.
Yeah. So I would like to see them like stray farther away from the core trilogy.
Sure.
So, I mean, like, Rogue One is very much it's an entire movie built around a plot hole.
Yeah. And not even a plot hole that I ever lost sleep over, to be honest.
I feel like I got more out of Solo just because of L337.
Yeah.
And it's like, so, like, are droids basically slaves?
So this is an interesting thing. Like first of all, I feel like the movie deals with those questions very carelessly. They kind of bring it up and bat it aside. And also I feel like it's kind of like certainly I appreciate the attempt to do a progressive allegory.
Reconcile with that.
On the other hand, this is not Star Trek where you want plot lines that kind of correlate to very specific things. This is Star Wars, and Star Wars I feel like is sort of designed to be broader than that. Because I never really, maybe this is naive, but I never saw the droids as slaves. I saw them as like a Greek chorus, or kind of the lackeys of the houses of Montague and Capulet at the beginning of Romeo and Juliet. They're there to kind of for us to relate to and to comment on the action, and it's I kind of felt like
just the question of them, how much free will do they have?
Yeah.
Versus the fact that they are bought and sold.
And they open that can of worms, and they weren't prepared to deal with it.
They didn't. They touch upon it, but they really don't do anything deep. Which really brings up the bigger issue of pretty much all the female characters in this movie get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I think I love Emilia Clarke. I think she's extraordinarily talented.
Great cast.
It's just I actually don't think her performance was good, because I feel like there were just each scene I couldn't tell who she was from scene to scene. There wasn't a flow, and I read about her saying well, Lord Miller would just say to me play it like a noir character, and she was like, that's not a no, and I felt like you could see that in the movie.
We get to the end and it's okay. I mean, I guess she's gonna betray him, but why?
Yeah.
I get.
I mean, I felt that she was trying to protect Han, but they did not build up to it as well as they could have.
And they kill off Tandy Newton. Why would you do that?
I know. It's just it felt like a lazy attempt to kind of foster some sentimentality.
They also killed off Jon Favreau, but
wait, what?
He was the forearm dude.
That was Jon Favreau?
Yes.
I feel really stupid for not knowing that. That's, oh my gosh. That, in retrospect, of course, yeah.
And it's so, I don't know. I do like the space pirate. I forget what her name is.
Infus Nest, yeah.
Yes.
I almost felt why didn't they just make the movie about her?
Yeah, give her a spin-off.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah, and a sort of founding of the Rebel Alliance movie. Well, there's a story how does the Rebel Alliance get built up basically from nothing, I mean, that's more interesting than how some Imperial officer thought to give the name Han Solo,
Oh, I get it, because I know what that means.
Yeah, aha.
I'm a clever moviegoer.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like if they were going to do a Birth of the Alliance or the Rebels movie, they would do a Leia prequel.
Yeah,
And it would be just her forming the alliance with, like, as an undercover spy, doing, like, Game of Thrones style court intrigue.
Sure. I like the sound of that, yeah.
Yeah. Probably cast Millie Bobby Brown as her.
That would be cool.
I would see that movie, but I don't know how much I would get out of it.
Well, we should probably be wrapping up soon, but I have one more question for you.
Go for it.
And it's the big one.
Yes.
Like, you think about what Lucasfilm was back in the 70s. You know, it was a dream factory, essentially. You know, Star Wars, yes, you know, it has, you know, there's DNA of Flash Gordon, there's, you know, DNA of Kurosawa, you know, but in a lot of ways it was something, you know, people had never seen before. It was pioneering new techniques and special effects. It was taking, you know, fairy tales, but, you know, refracting them through this high-tech mirror in a way that people hadn't seen before. And I just want to, like, put the question, like, I mean, like, what if instead of, like, kind of trying to, you know, mine, you know, Star Wars movies out of every little thing in the Star Wars universe, what if Lucasfilm, like, went back to the core of what it was originally and said, hey, we're going to dream up new original ideas and try and you know, be true to the spirit of, you know, George Lucas as, like, a filmmaking pioneer, as opposed to kind of just sort of feeding people what they know. I mean, like I just feel like that would be a better direction. Maybe they make less money, but on the other hand, you know, I looked at the box office this morning. Solo's not doing so hot. So,
but that's the risk. Is that when you're dealing with this level of money, the studio doesn't want to take risks. Like, it's. I mean, like, yeah, we talk about this. Solo is not doing as great as people thought it was. I think the big thing is marketing came out really late for that one. Like, like, the first trailer came out in, like, February.
Yeah.
When all the other Star Wars movies, they had stuff out like a year before the movies came out. And the other thing is they haven't figured out how to sell Star Wars in China, and that's a huge part of the box office.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. But it's difficult, you know. I don't know. I think the Disney company, they're corporate overlords. They probably want something that has some ambition to it.
Sure.
But they understand that, like, if you go too far off the beaten path, you start getting diminishing returns. Or you could have, at least.
But yet Solo, the one that plays it the safest of all the new films, that's going to be the lowest grossing one. You know, I mean, like isn't it? Don't you have to take big risks to get big rewards?
I mean, like, let's go back a few years. Jerry Bruckheimer, against his better judgment, signs off on a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And then he shows up to set. Johnny Depp's walking around all drunk, covered in makeup, and he's like, "Why can't you just be normal and cute?" That ends up being the thing that hooks people in, that makes 4 more movies and counting. So I get what you're saying. I do, and I would like to see that level of ambition, of risk taking, in movies these big. But I don't know how likely that is to happen. Giving Rian Johnson carte blanche might be a good thing. J.J. Abrams directing Episode 9 might not be, because he is the safe filmmaking choice.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's nothing against him. It's just like
he has talent. He doesn't push himself. You know, he needs to. It's not a problem with, like, you know, his visual style and the way he stages things. It really comes down to the writing. You know, he plays by the numbers to a certain degree.
So we'll see what happens. I can't predict the future. I don't know what other Star Wars movies they have cooking. Besides, you know, we got Episode 9, the trilogy, Boba Fett, maybe Obi-Wan, maybe Lando. We'll see what happens. I really don't have a good conclusion for that.
Well, before we sign off, and I can go first on this if you need a second to think about it.
Okay.
Your dream Star Wars spin-off. What is it?
Let's see. Well, what haven't they done in it? I'm trying to think of like what's uncharted territory for a Star Wars movie.
The ice cream guy.
Yeah.
There's your spin-off right there.
Oh yeah, Wilbur Hood, the movie.
Or if they're sticking to these titles, called just Hood, a Star Wars story.
The dickish part of me wants to say, you know what Star Wars hasn't done yet? They haven't done a musical yet.
Oh, I would sign up for that.
I'd watch the hell out of that, if only because hardcore Star Wars fans would lose their minds.
There's a hardcore Star Wars fan sitting across from me who's also a hardcore musical fan who would pee his pants to see those two universes collide.
Besides that, I think maybe a horror movie kind of thing with Star Wars. Like, you've got more than enough monsters.
Wampa, a Star Wars story. Like an alien-style film set in the ice caves of Hoth.
Or just like something like The Thing, where we had a shapeshifter for like 2 minutes in Attack of the Clones.
Who didn't shapeshift for any discernible reason. George.
So, besides that, I don't know. I'd like to see like a better version of the prequels, because my favorite part of this stuff has always been the Jedi stuff, and the prequels were all of those, and they were terrible. So maybe a story, maybe give us the midquel for the first and for the second and third trilogy, where
that's a good idea. Yeah,
where it's seeing Luke try to rebuild the Jedi Order and how that fell apart. What happened to the Knights of Ren?
Yeah. Who the heck are they, and where are they?
Maybe I'll go back and finish watching Rebels, because I only watched the first 2 seasons.
I still haven't seen it.
But I don't know. We'll see what happens. I keep saying that. I don't want to see them get too weird with it. I don't want to see like David Lynch's Star Wars or Alejandro.
You almost did. David Lynch's Return of the Jedi.
Or like,
no, I'm really glad that didn't happen.
Alejandro Jodorowsky's Star Wars. Like, I'd like to see Edgar Wright playing Star Wars. That would be fun.
Yeah,
bring in Simon Pegg to some degree, because he's definitely a fan.
You could do a Star Wars comedy.
Yeah. Oh god, Star Wars comedy. That would be.
So the
one other thing.
Yeah.
Kieran Gillen's Darth Vader series.
Right. Yeah.
Where they touch on the idea of like droid sentience. The series definitely plays around with that, but in a more funny kind of way.
I think you talked about that when we did Last Jedi, right?
Yeah.
So that sounds really interesting.
And plus, I just love those characters. I love 000 and BT.
There's like dark R2 and 3PO.
They're
right?
evil R2D2 and 3PO.
Oh, no, that's a great idea.
And someone did
like BB Hate.
Yeah. And someone did like fantasy casting of it, and it's like Martin Freeman as 000. I want to see that. He would be so good.
I would totally see Martin Freeman in one of these movies.
Yeah.
I would watch any of the spin-offs you propose. I think they sound pretty cool. Your musical idea reminded me of I have a serious answer, but before that I'll do a funny answer. When I was a kid, I had this idea of the title, The Jedi Party, floated into my head. And I had an idea of towards the end of the Clone Wars, the Jedi do like a fundraising party to help with the war effort, and you got Anakin dancing around and like Yoda and Mace Windu staring disapprovingly, and I want to see that movie. The last days of frolicsome drunken innocence before the rise of the Empire. I need that to happen.
That sounds wonderful.
And my serious answer, as much as I think it would be sacrilege to kind of do something like in the original trilogy era with new actors as Han, Luke, and Leia, I've always been fascinated by the period of time between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, the time when Luke knows that perhaps Vader is his father, but can't yet confirm it and is dealing with that possibility. I'd be curious about that, because back in the Marvel comics, they didn't quite get into that aspect of it, but that was my favorite era of like the original Star Wars Marvel comics, before Jedi, when you're kind of in this time of uncertainty. Han is in Carbonite, the Rebel Alliance is forging ahead after all these defeats. I think it's an interesting, unstable period, and I would open my heart to that, as much as I don't want to see some, bloody hell, this, new kid's done well with Mark Hamill, hasn't he? I mean,
Yeah. See everybody get Tarkined back into you.
oh no, there's a Darth Vader no for you. No.
So that sounded more like an Emperor no. It's like, no.
No, you must not.
Maybe an Emperor Palpatine movie. Or like prequel territory.
Yeah, I mean, if you bring Ian McDiarmid back, I'm there. I mean, bottom line.
Just like see what else is going on with the dark side, because we don't see a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We got Darth Maul back.
Why?
Dun 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 dun.
I do like that they included that sting. That was fun.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
All right.
Shall we wrap it up there?
Let's wrap it up.
Shall we take off to hyperspace, as it were?
As it were.
Well, thank you for coming on this wild ride on the Millennium Falcon as we talk about Solo, a Star Wars story. Side note, you may remember Rogue One, even though it was billed as Rogue One, a Star Wars story, on screen it just said Rogue One. Whereas this says Solo, a Star Wars story on screen. So
it's all about branding.
There's a little bit of inconsistency. It's like, do you want the Star Wars story thing in the official title or not? Make up your minds.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It makes me laugh. If you like this podcast, please click thumbs up or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, and please check out all the great reviews and content we have at thomoviereviews.wordpress.com. Once again, I'm your host, Bennett Campbell Ferguson. I'm here with Shaunette, and I'd say may the force be with you, but Han thinks.
But no one says that in this movie.
Yeah, and Han thinks it's just a lot of mumbo jumbo and whatnot. So it feels like it wouldn't be in the right spirit.
So I guess
as usual,
punch it, Chewie.
Wait, what?
Punch it, Chewie.
Munch it.
Punch it with a P.
I thought for a second I thought you said munch it, which actually kind of makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there we have it. Punch it, Chewie.
All
See you
right.
next time.